I am reviewing the movie All Girls Weekend, a movie that has undergone a few title changes. It's been known as Dark Mountain, it's been known as The Suicide Forest, and it is now known as All Girls Weekend. And it has an all-female cast, and it is a film that apparently was inspired by the movie The Descent, which when you watch it you can kind of get that vibe a little bit. It's all these girls bonding over an outdoors activities weekend. But that's where I think the similarities kind of end. For me, this movie was kind of a mixture between Blair Witch, The Woods, the supernatural one where they go in the woods and they can never get out, and The Happening, which may not inspire because I know Happening is not a very good movie, but in regards to nature fighting back, that element in The Happening. And this movie starts off at the beginning. There is a group of high school friends who meet up, and they decide they're going to go on an all-girls weekend, and they're going to go on outdoors activities, have lots of fun, all that kind of stuff. And they do that. They do a bit of outdoor expeditioning and outdoor sports, and then they decide that they're going to take a hike in the woods. So they pull over. They're not well prepared for this. They don't really have much in regard to rations and things like that. But they think they're only going to go for like a couple of miles walk through the woods. And one of them tells them that she knows where she's going because she's been before. So they trust her. Off they go into the woods. But it all goes terribly wrong fairly quickly. They start getting lost. They don't know where they are. They keep going in circles. And it becomes fairly apparent fairly quickly that they're lost, even though you get the classic "I know where we are" sort of stuff that you get in these movies all the time. One of them injures themselves, and then it becomes a bit more serious. They have to spend the night in a lodge that they find that's been abandoned, and then they have to spend the next day or days trying to get out of this forest in one piece, as things become increasingly obvious that something is terribly wrong and some force is fighting against them. What kind of force? That's really for you to watch and find out. Now this movie, I personally felt it started off pretty poorly straight away, and I don't notice this a lot in movies. The soundtrack was very generic, I felt. When the girls were getting together at the beginning of the movie, they were supposed to be old friends from high school, but it was like they'd just met. There wasn't much chemistry there. None of them were particularly likeable, and the acting at times was a bit below average at this point in the movie. I don't know if they shot the movie in sequence. It would make sense because, like I say, at the beginning it were like they were strangers and they just met, but as the movie progressed, the chemistry between them was a bit better. So I'm guessing they shot it in sequence, and as they got to know themselves over the weeks of the filming, the chemistry was better during the filming. I didn't feel it was a particularly original movie. I think it borrowed heavily from other movies, like I said. I think the budget at times, you do have to be a little bit more forgiving on movies like this because it clearly had a small budget. And I think sometimes the budget did let it down in some of the things it was trying to do when the wind is blowing in the forest, like it's supposedly they're being attacked by this wind in the forest. It just kind of looked like there was somebody sprinkling leaves over the camera or something like that. There was some really quite poor dialogue at times, pretty poor exposition scenes. They'd read about these woods on a leaflet, like a tourist leaflet thing, and suddenly they were experts on this place. And just general mistakes, like at night they were cold and freezing in the woods, but they were walking around with their coats half unzipped. Now, I don't know about you, but when I'm walking around somewhere and I'm cold, as they put my coat right at the top, and I put my hood up if I've got it, and it looked like they probably did have hoods in them coats that they were wearing because they looked like outdoory coats. So it was just silly mistakes like that isn't normality. If you're cold, you zip your coat up. It's little things like that that just kind of get on my nerves a little bit. But saying that, I felt the first half an hour, 40 minutes of the movie weren't brilliant, but I did think it picked up a little bit by the end. I felt as though the tension did build up a bit. There's some good scenes where it does build the tension up. There's quite a good amputation scene, things like that, and it does add a bit of gore later on in the movie. And it did give me quite a nice surprise at the end. I thought by the end of the movie, I was on board far more than I was at the beginning of the movie, so I think it did its job to a certain degree. So I thought this was okay, and I'll give this movie a 6 out of 10. It's nothing special, but it might be worth a watch.